Juliana here with AvWorld. Today I'm going to be going over the requirements and the steps required to become a Canadian private pilot. First off, you will have to be 17 years of age or older and obtain a Class 1 or Class 3 medical license from a civil aviation medical examiner or equivalent from a Canadian Forces flight surgeon. For those of you that may want to transfer over from the Canadian Armed Forces to civil aviation. Next, you will have to go through 45 hours of in-class ground school instruction on several different subjects such as theory of flight, meteorology, navigation, radio communication, flight instruments, flight operations, aircraft maintenance and design, and human performance and human factors. You will also have to complete 25 hours of dual instruction in an aircraft, so that's sitting next to an instructor. Within those 25 hours, you will have to complete 3 hours of dual cross-country experience and 5 hours of simulated instrument flying. Simulated instrument flying requires you to put a hood over your head so that you cannot see out of the windows, and you can only see the instrument panel of the aircraft. Using those instruments, you will have to continue flying the aircraft in a specified manner given to you by your instructor. Your instructor will not be under a hood. They will be able to see out of the windows and see everything that's going on. Look out for traffic, so don't worry about that. During this 25 hours of dual instruction, you'll learn several useful things such as attitudes and movements, turns, climbs, stalls, spins, spirals, and slow flight, among many other useful practices. You will then, usually around 10 to 15 hours, be ready to go for your first solo flight in an airplane. However, before you can do this, you will have to write a test with a minimum pass mark of 90%, called the P-Star, and this is on aviation regulations within Canada. Different air law that applies to you as a private pilot, and what your privileges are, where you are and are not allowed to fly at certain times, and the clearances you'll require to fly in the more restricted airspace. Once you have completed your first solo flight, you will have to complete 12 more hours of solo flight, with 5 hours being a cross-country time as a minimum. After you've completed all of your ground school instruction and your flight preparation and flying time, you will then need to write a Transport Canada approved written exam for a private pilot license aeroplane or private pilot license helicopter, depending on which aircraft style you want to be a pilot of. This test will cover 7 sections, including air law, navigation, meteorology, theory of flight, and several others, with each of the individual sections also having a 60% pass mark. So you have to pass all 7 sections with 70%, 60%, and the entire test with at least 60%. Then you're ready to move on to your flight test. This will be done in a single engine aircraft with a certified flight examiner who is a very experienced flight instructor. They will have you demonstrate all the different aspects of flight training that you have learned in the air, as well as will have you demonstrate your knowledge on the ground of vital speeds to the aircraft that you're flying, and your ability to read the pilot operating handbook and use the graphs and charts inside of that to plan a safe flight for your flight test. Once you become a private pilot in Canada, you are then entitled to be the pilot in command of any single engine land aircraft during day operations with visual flight rules or visual reference to the ground, with up to 9 passengers in a single engine land aircraft. I hope this video helped answer some questions you may have had, and if you weren't previously planning on becoming a pilot, I hope you will consider it as a possible career in the future. Just for a reference, the base cost of all this time and effort put in through a flight school will be somewhere around $12,000 to $15,000 to get a private pilot license in Canada. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next one.